Good afternoon and welcome to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host, Rian Hobson, and I do apologize. Surely you will get some bad reception, which will be the internet problem. We just actually had some severe load shedding, and I thought it would be up by 8 o'clock, but it actually only got up like a few minutes ago. So I'm really sorry about that. But at least I'm live, so that I can just continue with the show. Now, I needed actually to do this. Is actually extremely important because there's a few things actually that I want to discuss with you, and that is actually to do with more with the Biden administration. That is actually a bit of a problem when it comes to the oil production. It's really an absolute mess. Your safest bet is actually to buy gold. I know gold was a bit retracing, but a very important point for all traders: once you are trading and you see a gap, normally on a Sunday when it goes to the Monday, when you see a gap, then normally that gap needs to get filled, and then before the market can go back to its normality. So that is what happened today. The market came back, closed the gap, and then it goes up. So please don't forget that. So when you have that spike, it's not good actually just continue buying on the spike, because normally the market comes back to close that gap, and then from there on it goes back up again. So please don't forget that if you are trading now. Very importantly, I don't think this nonsense will stop, especially when it comes to the oil prices and when it comes to basically all sorts of commodities, especially oil, your wheat prices, and even in South Africa, it will also be difficult because the food prices will go up. Petrol prices, there was a forecast, I think it was on News 24 that was yesterday out, where they actually said the oil price can reach about 40 rand, 40 rand a liter. Look, 40 rand a liter, that means that inflation will be skyrocket high, and interest rates might be at 15% or maybe 20% just to contain it. But tomorrow, please don't forget at 10 o'clock, I do the radio podcast as well. That is at 10 o'clock during the day. So please do tune in, because there I can talk a bit more freely and not here on Facebook, on StreamYard, where I need to be contained. So please don't forget it. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube page. And please, if you have some questions, just let me know and I can basically answer them here. But the first topic that I'm going to do today is actually the story with the Biden administration that don't want actually to increase the oil production in the United States. That will help a lot, not just for the people from the United States, but across the world. Because once the oil or shale drillers are coming up to stream, that means that the oil prices will go down. But the Biden administration is not having it. And that is actually the big issue there. I'm just actually taking to an article. Biden backed socialist Venezuela for oil after killing U.S. independence. Now, if you guys can remember last year or by the previous administration, which was Donald Trump, the U.S. was actually energy independent, and they actually produced a lot of oil. They were actually an exporter of gas and actually of oil. Today, that's not the case, because I hope you can still remember the Keystone Pipeline story, where it was totally chopped off. The first day that the President Biden came in, he chopped off the Keystone Pipeline. He stopped actually the fracking drilling, and that causes now the oil prices to go up so drastically, because if the U.S. oil was still running and the Keystone Pipeline would have still be active, because the Keystone Pipeline could produce push about 800,000 barrels per day to the United States. Currently, the United States is buying actually oil from Russia, 600,000 barrels per day. And that is actually a big issue, where the Keystone Pipeline could have substituted that with 800,000 barrels per day. So that is actually a big issue, but the Biden administration don't want to increase the production, and that's why a lot of people are putting pressure on him. As the article goes on, President Biden has imposed more restrictions on U.S. oil companies than he has on Russia. So the thing is that the guys can't actually produce oil because there's a lot of green energy nonsense that is going on in the United States, and that's why he can't actually push up the oil production. It literally takes a signature from his side, and then the oil guys can come back and just pump oil. It's a lot of suffering going on in the world, not just actually in the United States when it comes to high oil price. And if Biden delay the story, that will actually cause more oil prices to go up, not just in the United States, but also across the world. And then more to do with high inflation that is coming. all over the world is, okay, that is another thing of Biden. This story, Ukraine war catastrophe for global food. This is actually one hell of a story. This was actually from the BBC. And then it goes on, yeah, the war in Ukraine will deliver a shock for the global supply and cost of food, the bosses of one of the world's largest, biggest fertilizer company has said. So that will actually one be hell of a story. So food prices will also go up drastically because of the shortage of fertilizers. So basically, what I'm telling you now, we will have a lot of inflation. And that means that you can see gold will actually go up. Actually, gold looks actually that it will go up further. It just closed the gap. As I said, it closed the gap. And actually, for me, gold looked like the best buy. Once it pushed over 2,000, then I think it's game over, because there is still more trouble coming. Besides the Russian and Ukraine story, besides the shortage of fertilizer, besides the oil shortages, look at this. Look at this nonsense that is also brewing now as we speak. The South Asia Sea, with Russia on its side, China tests the sovereignty of Vietnam waters. The whole story comes up because the Chinese are seeing weakness in NATO. NATO is entirely divided because, one, the Germans were saying they're not going to cut off of Russian oil and gas. The US wants to get off of Russian oil and gas, but not the Germans. NATO is totally divided, and that is what the Chinese are basically seeing. And that's why they're testing now the water with Vietnam and also with Taiwan. Now, the Chinese won't let a crisis go to waste. With the world preoccupied with Russia and Ukraine war, Beijing is stepping up its campaign to dominate the South China Sea. This time around, they carry out military drills in the South China Sea between the southern province of Hainan and Vietnam, testing sovereignty in this area. And that is actually one hell of a problem now, because the US is entirely weak, and also its NATO ally, because they can't come to an agreement when it comes to oil and gas. A lot of Germans are dependent, or I would say the whole entire Europe is still dependent on Russian oil and gas. And the United States wants to cut that whole entire chain. But NATO is divided on that story, and also they don't help actually Ukraine. So the Chinese are actually seeing that weakness, and that's why they're taking advantage in the South Asian Sea. And also, what the media is reporting about China, it is basically sitting in the middle. China is literally supporting also Russia, because I think it's UN Pay that runs now the system for Russia, not just for China, but also for Russia as well. So the Russians can pay actually via this Union Pay, and also the Chinese can pay via that. So there's quite a lot of nonsense that is happening. Now, the big thing is, what the hell do you do? One, there's interest rate decision that comes from the European Union. That is actually on Thursday. Now, from the Euro Central Bank. Now, it looks like the euro could actually go up if they talk in favor of lifting up the interest rate. So you need to watch that very closely. But there is some enormous pressure on the euro. That is because of the war that's actually happening in Ukraine. Now, the safest bet actually on this whole nonsense that is going on is actually trading with gold. Gold, oil, I think oil still have a lot of potential. Is going up. That can still go up. I think oil has a big chance of going to 140. Traders are actually betting. I was reading an article earlier on. Trading is literally betting, or traders is betting on actually a $200 per barrel oil price. That is now obviously to do with the story of Russia and Ukraine. And on top of that, you have another story brewing. That is the military drills that is being done in Asia, or the South Asian Sea. So the Chinese see the advantage, the Russians is taking it. So there's a lot of nonsense coming up. I think definitely for me, gold is your best bet, and also the United States dollar. But I would say gold for me is actually the one to go around. That is my safest bet for you for today. So that is it from my side. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I will see you guys again at 8 o'clock. And don't forget my radio show, which is at 10 o'clock in the morning. There I can be a bit more explicit and go more into detail. It's not here where I get censored very quickly. So that is it from my side. I will see you guys tomorrow at 10 or at at 8 or 8:30 tomorrow night. That's it from my side. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.